It is great to be in Virginia. It is great to be here at Fire Station number 9 with some of Chesterfield's finest. First of all, I want to thank Chief Urquhart, not only for the introduction, but for the great service that he's been providing for 22 years. 22 years. Give him a big round of applause. Chief of Chesterfield County Fire and EMS, Lloyd Setchell. Give him a big round of applause. I appreciate opening up the firehouse here today, but if the bell goes off, just ignore me, do your thing. Right. We've been on a little road trip over the last few days. I've got a pretty nice ride. It's not your normal RV, and it's parked outside. We've been seeing some sights, we've been eating some good food. Most importantly, we've been getting a chance to hear from the American people. And it's always nice to spend a few days outside of Washington, because it doesn't seem like your voices are being heard the way they need to be heard in Washington. Times are tough all over, and a lot of folks here in Virginia have spent months looking for work. Others are just barely making it, and they're having to make hard choices, and they're having to make sacrifices. It's hard, obviously, watching friends or family or neighbors who are struggling. And all of us, I think, are mindful of the fact that the economy is not where it needs to be. I think most people understand that the economy and its problems didn't happen overnight. So we're not going to solve all these challenges overnight. It's going to take time to rebuild the kind of America in which everybody has a fair shot, everybody's paying their fair share, where responsibility is rewarded, where the deck is not stacked against middle-class families. In fact, we have a middle class that is growing again, and solid again, and secure again, and people who are striving to get into the middle class have ladders of opportunity. That's what we're striving for. We're going to keep on fighting, we're going to keep on working to make sure that we've got the kind of economy that works for everybody and not just some. And here's the good news. There are things we can do right now that will make a difference. There are things that we can do right now that will put people back to work. There are things we can do right now that will make sure that we are competitive in this global economy. Some of the challenges we face, we're going to have to work on for a while. Improving our schools, making sure that we've got the best infrastructure in the world, making sure that we're bringing down our deficit, making sure that we're continuing to invest in science and technology, but there are things we can do right now that will make a difference. And that's why I sent to Congress the American Jobs Act. It's a jobs bill. It's a jobs bill that contains the kind of proposals that, in the past at least, have been supported by Democrats and Republicans alike. It's paid for. It will not add to our deficit. And it's paid for by asking the wealthiest of us, people like me, to be able to put in a little bit more so that we can make sure that folks who are struggling get the help they need and that the economy overall is improving. Independent economists have said it will create nearly 2 million jobs. That's not my opinion. That's not the opinion of people who work for me and have to tell me what I want to hear. It's the opinion of independent economists. They say it will help the economy grow. People who study the economy for a living say this would give the economy the jolt that it needs. A number of people have been asking during the course of this road trip, why have you been visiting some of the most Republican parts of North Carolina and Virginia? And what I've had to remind them is that I'm not the Democratic president, I'm not the Republican president, I'm the President of the United States of America. Come on. All right. We're all Americans and we're all in this together. And that's why we didn't call this the Democratic Jobs Plan or the Republican Jobs Plan. We called it the American Jobs Act. Yeah. We need to put people to work right now. most Americans understand it. You know, recent polls show that 63% of the American people support what's in the American Jobs Act. Unfortunately, we've had 100% of Senate Republicans vote against it. A majority think it's a good idea to keep firefighters on the job. As tough as the economy may be, I think people may not be aware, for the last 19 months we've had private sector job growth. We've seen more than 2 million jobs created in the private sector. The problem is that state and local governments have been very hard pressed. And so they are cutting back on firefighters, police officers, teachers. And that's one of the biggest challenges we have, not only because these folks sacrifice for us and provide extraordinary service to us, but also, you know, they go to restaurants, and they go to the hardware store, and they pay a mortgage. And so if folks if we've got firefighters or police officers or teachers who are being laid off, that hurts the small business person down the street. That means that somebody may have their home foreclosed on, and that brings property values down for everybody. So the provisions that we've got in the bill are ones that most people support. Keeping firefighters in the job, keeping cops on the job, putting teachers back in the classroom, giving tax cuts to families, giving tax cuts to small businesses, giving tax cuts to businesses who hire our veterans. I just came from Hampton, and we were down there talking to folks who have served our country, this 9/11 generation, and are coming back after making all those sacrifices and finding themselves fighting for work. We've got to do something about that. The question is why Congress isn't willing to move. Now, I just want to be fair. I sent Congress the American Jobs Act, and then my Republican friends put out a plan of their own, and they started out calling it the real American Jobs Act. So they don't get points for originality. But I did say, well, let's see what you've got. What are your ideas? And the primary ideas in their jobs plan was to roll back regulations to keep our air and water clean, to go back to the system we had in Wall Street that caused this crisis in the first place, to end the health care reform that we passed that will provide 30 million people health insurance and make sure that insurance companies can't take advantage of you. Now, that is a plan, but it's not a jobs plan. We can have an argument about health care, or we can have an argument about environmental regulations, but we can't